Well, hello everybody. This is Ryan.
And this is Kyle.
And you are listening to
The Doctor's Watcher, the giant space crab lovers podcast about every episode of Doctor Who.
Space crabs. So, have you ever noticed, sometimes people write the word burro when they really mean burrow, like B-U-R-R-O versus B-U-R-R-O-W?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Clearly, those people don't know their ass from a hole in the ground.
Nice.
So, how's it going, Kyle?
It's going pretty well. I have played this video game recently that's kind of interesting that I thought I would mention.
Do tell.
It is called Blueprints. That's prints like the male heir of a king, not prints like things that got printed.
Cool.
However, the name Blueprints is definitely a pun or play on words of blueprints. Like, building construction guidelines or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Because the game itself is that you're playing as this character who has inherited his uncle's mansion, but the conditions of the inheritance are that you need to find the secret hidden 46th room of the mansion. But it's a roguelite, I guess you might call it, because you enter the mansion on day one, you're in the entrance parlor, and as soon as you open a door into a new room, then you're drafting what that room is. It offers you 3 options and you pick which one you want and draft that room and enter it. And
cool.
You have a certain number of steps per day each time you enter a new room that counts as 1 step or whatever. So you can only explore so much before your day ends, and you have to quit for the day and start a new day. And every new day, the mansion's layout resets. So, it's all new. You enter the entrance parlor and then you're drafting new rooms and whatever. But it's a puzzle game. So some of the rooms have, pretty self-contained, little logic puzzles or whatever that if you solve it, then, you might get keys or gems or whatever to use in the mansion on that day. But then there are also deeper and more complex puzzles where you might enter a room for the first time and, there's a bunch of buttons or whatever. And you're I have no idea what the fuck I'm supposed to do with these. And you're all right, shrug, I'll move on. Then you enter some other room later on and you find instructions that explain what the fuck you're supposed to do with those buttons and what that puzzle is. And then the next time you enter that room, you're oh, I remember reading those instructions. Now I can work on trying to solve this puzzle. And
cool.
There are puzzles where you might need to unlock a thing in one room to set up the thing in the other room to provide power for the thing in the third room or whatever. But you need to figure all that out and how it all works. And so, yeah, it's really interesting. It's all sorts of layers of depth of various puzzles to solve. And, as a sort of a roguelite game where you're drafting different rooms each time, there's also a fair amount of what's the random number generator going to give you? You can't solve the puzzle involving like doing things in 3 different rooms consecutively unless you actually draw those 3 rooms that day, right? So there's kind of an amount of trying to balance like what puzzles are you trying to solve. Like, you know, you might have learned about a particular puzzle and you want to focus on it, but you know, if it's not given you the rooms that you need to solve that puzzle, like you should actually just focus on solving the puzzles that you happen to encounter on that day. And like, you'll get to the other ones, you know, some other time when the random number generator wants you to get to them.
Yeah, that's a cool concept. That seems kind of complex to like, well, I don't know. Like, it seems maybe like it would be simple to create, but then like the way the RNG works and like depending on which puzzle you roll, you know, like you roll puzzle number 17 or whatever, and that means like you'll get a room where you don't know what to do, and then X random number of rooms later you'll get the first clue to that, and then Y random numbers after that you get the final piece of it all or whatever. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not too far into it yet. I think I've done like, you know, maybe a couple weeks worth of in-game days. I have some friends online who are in like, you know, over 100 days in the game and like still, you know, figuring out how to solve like puzzles that I haven't even like heard of yet. So
wow. Nice.
Uh-huh.
Sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, I was gonna talk about a game type thing as well. I know I've mentioned this to you before, but for our listeners, there's an annual Python roguelike coding tutorial that's done by the roguelike dev subreddit. And you don't have to do it in Python. Lots of people do it in other languages. But basically, and there's a tutorial out there for Python, and there's other tutorials for other languages too. But the original one was this Python one. And nice. Yeah, and like basically what they do is every week they go through 2 chapters of that so that, you know, if you're having trouble, you can ask questions, or, you know, they're all kind of progressing through it together. So that, you know, anyone who, like if you're having trouble or you need better explanations and whatnot, like they can all discuss it and kind of progress through it. I did it myself. I'd already done it once a couple years ago. And I had big plans for a game, but I think they were over, like an overreach for my skills. Uh-huh. I still do. I'm keeping that plan in my back pocket, but I have a more modest concept this time. But basically, like I for some reason thought it happened, the code along thing happened in June, but no, it's July. So I just went through the whole thing again on my own, kind of just to refresh, you know, my memory of like the structure of all of it, because it gets pretty complicated.
Sure.
There's a tool called TCOD, which you use. It's a Python library that's like a framework for making roguelike games, and it's really nice. It's got nice features for, you know, doing games like that. That's specifically what it's for. And then you kind of build the engine yourself and build everything up. Basically, I got through the end of the tutorial a few days ago. And so, yeah, basically I have a working roguelike game where, you know, you start out with a dagger and leather armor, and you're fighting orcs and stuff, and you're finding like health potions. And then as you go down farther and farther, you know, you're literally going down levels of this roguelike, map or whatever, and like each new level is procedurally generated. They're all very similar because it's using the same kind of algorithm.
Mm-hmm.
And like the more you level up and the deeper you get, you might find you start finding scrolls like confusion scrolls and lightning bolt scrolls and fireball scrolls. And
Nice.
yeah, and you can increase your hit points or your defense number or your attack power. And you'll run into like trolls and stuff, which are much tougher, but also give more HP. And you might find like a sword or chainmail, blah, blah, blah. So it's very simple from like the perspective of it being a game that's, like a little bit fun, but not that great. But it's an awesome skeleton to kind of start with.
Right on.
So yeah, now I have a much more modest concept than what I was trying to do before. But basically, I kind of want to either like, I don't know if I'm going to throw the weapons away completely or kind of leave them in as a vestigial thing. But the main concept of the game, working title, is Oops, I Barfed. And the idea is it's going to be, and obviously this is all up for change, if I on a whim change my mind or whatever, or figure out something that would be funnier or better. But basically it's going to be like a cyberpunk style world where, the world is so polluted, everyone is just barfing all the time. But you get really good at barfing and like, you can level up your barfs. So like maybe you start with like weak acidic barfs or something, and then maybe you can like learn how to do fire barfs or, learn how to like barf farther or more barf.
Nice.
And, like I want to have the different types of barf be like interactable with each other. So like maybe if you barf acid barf and it's sitting there doing acid stuff and like off gassing fumes and whatnot, then if you barf a fire barf, maybe that part will explode or something.
Nice.
Or maybe you like take a drink of water and barf some water barf and you can wash away all the barfs
that makes sense,
that you're worried about exploding near yourself or something. So yeah, I haven't really gotten too far off from the base, game that you get at the end of the tutorial, but I've programmed in like a arena area for testing and like a testing dummy with 100 HP, and like if you pound on it enough to knock it down to 0, you get a nice little message of like, oh wow, you killed the testing dummy, very impressive. And it just like, all of its HP come back and, it doesn't actually die.
Nice.
So yeah, it's fun. I've got this whole like notes thing, like of my ideas of all the stuff I want to do. Like I want to add in some cool tiles for it instead of just, you're an @ symbol. But one of the coolest things I'm looking into right now is a map generation style called waveform collapse, or no, wave function collapse. Yeah, that's what I said. That sounds cool. Like basically it's the concept is like, say if you have 3 types of land that can go on your map, like mountains, grasslands, and like water areas. And the mountains, they can only appear next to other mountains or grasslands. And the water can only appear next to other waters or grasslands. And then the grasslands can appear next to anything.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have like a 3x3 grid, the concept is you'll randomly choose, or the program randomly chooses one of the squares of this grid and randomly assigns some type of terrain to it, say mountain. And then it looks at the surrounding squares like northeast, south, and west. And now those ones have less choices, right? Because the mountain can only be next to mountains or land. And so it'll lower basically what's called the entropy number. They've gone from 3 choices each. Now they can only have 2.
Right.
And so then your program looks through the map again, and it gets the squares with the lowest entropy. In that case, the squares around the one you just established, and it'll randomly choose one of those squares, and then it will randomly choose from the selections of that square. So it'll like collapse that square, the wave function. So like you might get either another mountain or another land, and it'll go through and do that on all those squares. And then each one of those lowers the entropy number of the squares around it until finally you've got your whole map filled out. So that's the basic concept, but basically the advanced part, and the part where it's probably going to be me doing a lot of like stealing other people's work to not stealing, it's freely available, but like taking other people's work and using it in mine, is you can basically get a script that does this, and you can feed the script small image files. Like say you open up GIMP and you create an image file, 32 by 32 pixels or whatever, of like a green square surrounded by a blue square surrounded by a red square. And then you tell it like, look at this thing, divide it into a 9 by 9 cube. And then there's, some other transformations that can happen. Like it could mirror one of the possible squares.
Sure.
Or like flip it vertically or flip it horizontally, or whatever. So like it figures out all the different ways this thing can be, the squares of this thing can be presented, and then it will fill your map with those all randomly chosen.
Huh. That's cool.
So like, it's way cool. Like a super cool concept, but long story short, what happens is like, maybe you draw like a couple rooms with like some pathways leading out of the rooms. And what you'll get back is this huge map filled with various sizes of rooms, and they all have pathways leading to each other.
Huh, that's really neat.
Or, it's cool. Or like another example of it that's like fun to see is like you start with like this little, again, pixel art picture of like a flower with like 3 little stalks and like a yellow flower at the top of each stalk. And then it will create like this large image of like stalks of flowers, and each stalk ends with a little yellow flower. And they're not all like this little 3-flower thing. They kind of like, sometimes they branch off and get big, but like, it's these flowers that are like auto-generated. It's a badass concept.
Nice. Yeah, that's really neat.
It can be like, it could be like used in a lot of different contexts. And one of our games that we've both played, Caves of Cud, which, by the way, we thought it was could, and it probably should be could, but all the talks I've watched the creators give, they say cud, actually.
Nice. Good to know.
Yeah, but that's how the terrain, well, the overworld terrain in Caves of Cud is, it is how it is. The areas are like static. But then when you zoom in and you actually get onto the, the player level screens, those are all generated using this wave function collapse algorithm.
Right on. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can get like caves out of it. You can get like, waterways with canyons and crap. And you can get like little towns, half ruined, half not ruined. It's pretty cool. Like there's very high level explanations from Brian Bucklew, the main coder. Like he describes kind of how they do it.
Nice.
It's like they'll get like this, their basic town shape, and then they'll kind of like say, okay, from the center of each room, find some way to have a door to get out so you can actually go into the rooms. And, they'll apply like some procedures over top of this, procedurally generated village that make it accessible, and like
Right.
obviously they'll drop in, items and NPCs and crap like that after the fact.
Nice.
But it's very, very fascinating. And
Yeah, that's
I'm trying
really
to wrap
cool.
my brain around it. But I 100% want to use that at least sometimes in the game, the Oops, I Barfed game.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, like video game procedural generation stuff is really interesting.
Yeah,
And like,
totally.
yeah, just kind of the various different methods you can use, and like, yeah, having to like kind of tweak the, I guess, like the settings of the procedural generation, and like, stuff like, this type of tile can only appear next to that type of tile, and like, this particular variable can't get like too extreme or whatever, and that sort of thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, yeah, so that's been a fun project. I'm hoping that I can stick with it long enough to get some sort of a finished project out of it. I don't know how long that's going to have to be. Maybe it'll end up being like a Dwarf Fortress kind of thing where it's just in development for, 20 years or whatever until I'm old and or die.
Nice.
But it's been fun. So, yeah, I probably talk too much about it, but it's an interesting concept.
Cool. Shall we talk too much about episode 2 of the Macra Terror?
Indeed. So, let's see, we left episode 1. Well, I guess first we should talk details. So we're still watching the animated version,
Yeah.
I assume.
Yeah, I stuck with the animated version for this. Yeah, it's available on the YouTube channel that I mentioned in the previous episode.
Nice. Yeah, so the doctor was escaping town with the guy with the M name,
Medoc.
And as they escape, they see one of these giant space crab creatures crawling into town.
Yeah, totally. So we pick up basically right from there. Although it turns out that this giant space crab is not really crawling into town, it's just kind of like passing by.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, it leaves, and Medoc's like, see, I fucking told you it's real. And, he's like shouting and carrying on about it. Doctor's like, dude, like, maybe chill out. Like, you're gonna attract the guards. And Medoc's like, yeah, but who gives a shit? Like, we can prove it's real now. And so the guards show up. Medoc's like, dude, the fucking giant space crabs are real, and the doctor can confirm it. And the doctor's like, yup. And so Chief of Police Ola arrests them both.
You're going before the pilot. You're in the company of an escaped criminal. And you're out in the colony at night.
I'm sorry, Doctor. I thought he'd listen to reason.
Reason's the last thing a man like Ola will listen to.
True.
Yeah, Chief of Police is not going to listen to reason. That should just kind of be your basic assumption.
Right. We know this.
Yeah.
This is basic stuff at this point.
So the doctor gets taken into the pilot's offices, where he immediately starts getting excited about like how nice the office is and how modern the pilot's telescopic viewing machine is that, allows him to keep track of the whole colony, provides like direct intercommunication between various parts of the colony. Doctor's like totally geeking out about all this. And the pilot's like, dude, I don't think you realize like how serious this situation is. You committed a crime by being out after curfew with a known criminal who hallucinates and shit. And the doctor's like, but does he? And then they're interrupted. Like, they can't really pursue this conversation further because they get interrupted by Ola bringing Medoc into the pilot's office. He tells the pilot that Medoc has made a new statement about the doctor that changes the situation. So they're like, all right, Medoc, like, what did you say? And hi, Matilda. Medoc tells the pilot that the doctor wasn't helping him. The doctor was actually trying to talk him into turning himself in. And so the pilot's like, oh, cool, doctor. Like, why didn't you tell us that? And the doctor is kind of about to start objecting because, obviously that is not actually what happened. But Medoc talks over him and he's like, it's better for us to tell him the truth, doctor. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Nice.
And the doctor's like, oh, right. Yeah, I got it. So Ola takes Medoc away and the pilot apologizes to the doctor and like tells him that he's free to go and whatever. But the doctor wonders what will happen to Medoc.
Oh, well, he'll be taken back to the hospital for correction. He'll be given another course of treatment. And when he returns to the colony, Medoc will be a changed man. He will cooperate and he will obey orders. He'll be just like the rest of us.
That is not super reassuring.
Yeah, totally. So the doctor just kind of leaves, and after he's out of the pilot's office, the static image of the controller appears on the pilot's screen, and we hear the controller voice as the controller tells the pilot that the strangers
are to be given the advantage of high-powered adaptation at once. They must begin to think like members of the colony.
So
high power adaptation, interesting.
Yeah, the pilot gets on his intercom and gives an order for their rest cubicles to be connected for deep sleep and thought patterns. We cut over to the sleeping quarters, and in the animation, Ben and Jamie and Polly are all in the same dorm type room. There are 3 beds that are spaced several feet apart. But I guess in the original version, and presumably in the loose cannon reconstruction as well, Ben and Jamie share a room and Polly gets her own room.
Okay.
So either way, the 3 of them are all laying in bed. Jamie's kind of tossing and turning, and there's a voice saying,
"The sleeper must relax and believe. Everything in the colony is good and beautiful. You must accept it without question. You must obey orders. The leaders of the colony know what is best."
Wow. Creepy.
Yeah, totally. This voice tells them that they will be given work in the morning and they will be glad to obey. Jamie is basically awake at this point, and he starts waking Ben up and telling Ben that he heard an evil voice. Even though it was a very gentle voice, it was an evil voice still. And, Jamie was even almost starting to believe what it says. But Ben is still half asleep, and he's basically just dude, fucking go to sleep. We need to rest up for a hard day's work tomorrow. And Jamie's like, hard day's work. What the fuck are you talking about? You sound like the voice. And Ben's like, well, we can't just like take advantage of the colony. We need to like, put our own effort in and whatever. And he's like, just go back to sleep and shit. So Ben goes back to sleep himself. Jamie lays down again. And the voice is like,
you will not resist the sleeping gas. Breathe deeply. In the morning, when you wake, you will obey.
The listener must relax and believe. Everything on the podcast is good and beautiful. You must accept it without question. When you are done listening to this episode, you will leave a rating and review of it on the podcast platform of your choice, and you will tell your friends about the podcast. You will be glad to obey. You will question nothing on the podcast. And now, back to the show. We either pan a few feet over or cut to another room, depending on which version you're watching. And the doctor enters the room with a screwdriver. It looks like just a normal screwdriver. It doesn't seem to be sonic yet. And he uses this screwdriver to basically pop this like 3 or 4 inch speaker, what looks like a speaker, off of the wall. I guess in the original, he pops like a hidden wire out of the wall, which is going to make a lot more sense than a speaker mounted on the wall in a few moments. But for us in the animation, there's like a speaker, mounted on the wall that he pops off. And Polly wakes up when he does this, and he tells her to forget everything that she was dreaming about, because he thinks that she may have been given instructions in her sleep and that she should disregard them.
Well, it's just possible that you've been given a series of orders while you've been asleep. Do this, do that, do the other thing. My advice to you is don't do anything of the sort. Don't just be obedient. Always make up your own mind.
Awesome.
Which, is...
Think for yourself. Question authority.
A great advice from the doctor, regardless of the situation.
Indeed. Yeah. Nice one, Doc.
He, seems to suddenly remember Ben and Jamie. And so he either goes to the other side of the room or to the other room and starts feeling around and looking and searching for either a small wire hidden in the wall or a 3 or 4 inch thing that looks like a speaker clearly and obviously and plainly mounted on the wall.
Okay.
And it takes him a little bit to find it. So obviously that's why the hidden wire in the wall in the original makes more sense than the speaker mounted on the wall.
Yeah, I see that now.
But, he finds it and he pops it off the wall in spite of Ben's objections. Ben's insisting that the colony is great, actually, and they all need to help out and work for the colony, just like everyone else. And the doctor's going to get thrown into jail for fucking up this equipment. But Jamie and Polly and the doctor are all just Ben, don't be such a fucking cop.
Awesome.
Ben is oh, cops, right, yeah, and actually starts shouting for the guards. And the guards show up with Ola. And so Ben shows them like the speakers that the doctor popped off the wall. And Ola's like, sweet, actual evidence provided by your own friend that you're like fucking with shit.
What the fuck, Ben? Fucking narc.
Yeah, seriously. So he's going to take the doctor away. Jamie tries to stop him, so he just takes Jamie along with the doctor as Ben shouts after him that the doctor needs correction even more than Medoc does. We cut to like a brief scene of Medoc actually being treated in the hospital. His treatment involves being strapped to a chair basically with like some bluish light shining on him and a voice telling him that he has seen no strange creatures and he will cooperate and he will work hard and happily.
Wow.
And yeah, it's like repeating all this. He's kind of like struggling and yelling and stuff at first, but like he seems more subdued at the end of the scene. So maybe it's having an effect. Hard to know for sure.
Yeah. So like now that we know that the brainwashers are aware of the strange creatures and are trying to affect the minds of the brainwashees not to see them or not to remember what they've seen or whatever.
Right.
Like what role do the Krabbies play in all this, I wonder?
Yeah, it's not really clear yet. Are they just like, I don't know, inhabitants of the planet and the brainwashers like just don't want the colony like worried about things? Or yeah, it's not really clear.
Yeah, are they somehow in cahoots with the crabs?
Right.
And the crabs are also evil? Or, yeah, what's interesting?
Yeah. As Medoc is getting treated, the pilot is telling someone that he thinks Medoc might be too far gone and might be basically destined for the pits. This conversation, though, gets interrupted by the pilot receiving a call on the intercom, basically telling him to, like, come pick up the doctor. And we cut back to the dorm room where it's just Polly and Ben. Polly's like, dude, Ben, what the fuck? And Ben's like, it was my duty to turn the doctor in. And Polly's basically just like, fuck you, I'm gonna go look for Jamie and the doctor. And so she leaves, heads out into the colony at large.
Yeah, I mean, Polly is strong-willed and has a strong mind. Clearly, Ben cannot make that same distinction.
Yeah, he might be in danger of losing his person of action title.
Yeah, more like person of ration.
So she heads out into the colony. Ben follows her. Of course, it's like at night, so this is like after curfew and shit. And it takes him a minute because she had like a bit of a head start, but he does eventually like catch up with her. She's like, fuck you, leave me alone. He's like, you broke the colony law. And she's like, A fucking C-A-B, stop being a fucking cop. But then she sees a giant crab. And Ben also sees it, but he immediately starts denying it.
Creepy.
There is nothing evil or harmful in this colony.
How can you believe that, Stan?
It stands to reason. It's safe. There is nothing here.
As Ben denies that this crab that they both see is there, the crab grabs Polly by the ankle with, you know, one of its giant crab claws and just like dangles her in the air for a minute.
Did it just like sneak up and they didn't notice? Or?
I think she was like too busy yelling at Ben and he's too busy denying the crab. But yeah, it's like standing like right there in front of him and it just like grabs her.
Nice.
So she's like yelling and screaming, obviously. Ben is like standing around like a useless cop in the face of danger.
Mm-hmm.
For like a few moments. It takes him a bit, but eventually he finally starts coming at least somewhat to his senses, and he grabs like a nearby 2x4 basically and starts hitting the crab's leg with it. And the crab completely doesn't give a shit at all, if it even notices that he's doing this. And like after a few moments, it drops Polly completely of its own accord, unrelated to Ben hitting its leg with a 2x4.
Well,
and
just like we said before, this is highest level of evolution type shit.
Yeah, like, you know, these are giant space crabs, and I'm sure their exoskeleton is like pretty thick, and like their legs and, you know, whatever the word is for crab feet and stuff, like they're pretty solid. Like Ben's not gonna hurt it.
Right. It's not gonna give a shit about some crummy hominid and its stupid wooden club.
So it drops Polly and, you know, kind of walks off. Ben holds Polly for a few moments while she, you know, cries and stuff and like, you know, starts trying to get herself together. But then she sees another crab behind Ben, and then there are like several more crabs surrounding them. Ben tells her to like make a run for it basically while he holds them off. And she's like, you can't fucking hold them off on your own. And so the two of them make a run for it together. And it seems that the HMS Pollen is not sunk yet.
Oh, snap. Although he was just being a bit of a dick.
Yeah, I think it might be on its last legs. It definitely took a pretty strong beating.
Right? No one wants to be shipped with a narc.
Yeah, seriously. The doctor, like, whenever they bring it up, the doctor keeps insisting and reminding them that, like, Ben's not himself. He's being mind controlled. Like, don't blame him and hold this against him and shit. Polly and Jamie are not sure they really want to hear that. But doctor keeps reminding him.
That's kind of him. The doctor is kind.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sometimes.
Right.
Speaking of the doctor, he and Jamie are in the pilot's office being confronted about this equipment that the doctor destroyed, these either speakers or hidden wires.
You have destroyed 3 nerve circuits, Doctor. You have burned them out. What have you to say?
Rather neat, don't you think? And so simple. I did it with this.
You admit it?
I'm proud of it.
The doctor notices that there's like a speaker or hidden wire or nerve circuit or whatever on the pilot's wall. And he's like, oh shit, like you are under this mind control too. And goes and like uses his screwdriver to pop it off the wall. The pilot's like, dude, what the fuck? And the doctor's like, you should be thanking me. And just then Ola brings Ben and Polly into the office. Polly starts talking about the horrible giant crab-like insects that they saw that grabbed her and that Ben saved her from almost getting killed himself. I'm like, I guess, maybe.
Right. That's very nice of her to say.
But the pilot starts asking Ben if this is true, and Ben denies it. He says that she ran away and he followed her.
There were no such creatures.
Ben!
There are no such things as Macra.
But you saw
There were no such creatures. There are no such things as Macra.
Oh, so now they have a name, and he knows the name.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I think this is the first time we've actually heard that word in the serial.
Huh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this thing that I clearly know stuff about.
Uh-huh. And like Jamie and Polly are both like pretty annoyed by this, especially Polly, obviously. But the doctor like reminds them again, like, don't blame Ben.
I told you. Ben has come under the control of the evil forces at the heart of this colony.
But the pilot objects to this line. He says that control always acts for good, not evil. And the doctor's like, who the fuck is this control anyway? And the pilot's like, dude, you've seen him. And the pilot, I should say, because it's not his name. We don't actually even know the pilot's name. But the pilot switches the screen on and we see like the static image of the dude's head appear. Apparently this is control. And we hear the control voice say that Polly has had hallucinations. Jamie is just like, what the fuck is that? That's just a picture of a dude. And the pilot's like, yeah, that dude is our controller. Like, this is a picture of our controller. But Jamie doesn't believe that control is actually a real person. I think he's recently watched season 2 of Star Trek Discovery, so he knows that like a thing named control is probably like an evil AI or something.
Right. I was about to say, like, this is Big Brother had sex with an AI and its baby was called Control.
So Jamie and the doctor start basically demanding to see the controller in person. The screen goes blank for a few moments and there's like some silence as the doctor says,
That set the cat among the pigeons.
Excellent phrase.
Uh-huh. But then the screen lights up again, and this time it's like an actual video image. It's not just like a static picture that appears on the screen. And it's an old dude, like much older than like the static picture of control. It looks like it probably is the same dude, but like, yeah, much older. The old dude kind of like looks around for a moment and it looks like he's about to say something, but then like the voice of control orders him to be silent. Polly and Jamie and everyone else are like, no, we want to hear what he has to say. We want to hear him speak. So then the voice of control orders him to speak.
Speak, controller. Speak!
Am I to speak?
Tell the strangers to believe and obey.
I will tell them. I will tell them. I'll do what you say.
Creepy.
Yeah. And yeah, and interesting how like he's given an order and instead of like doing the order, he just like insists, I'm gonna do it. And like he keeps shouting about like how he'll obey and like don't touch me and keep away and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we hear like some shuffling and scuffling and stuff, and the camera that's, you know, like filming him to show on the screen gets like knocked over and like cuts out, but not before the doctor and Polly and everyone else sees a giant claw appear on the screen and like start dragging the old man away.
Oh, awkward.
Uh-huh. Polly's like,
That was it! In the picture, that was the claw! They're in control!
and the pilot condemns them all to the pits, and the words on the screen say, Doctor Who, Patrick Troughton.
Nice. Yeah, well, this cereal is definitely heavily borrowing from like 1984 and Brave New World and that kind of thing. But
Yeah,
I like
totally.
it. You know, those are great stories and, you know, fully relevant even today.
Mhm.
Like even today, we have people denying shit that is plain as day, clear as crystal, in front of their face, you know, and they're still like, oh, the world is flat and the sky is, I don't know, brown, you know, like just saying stuff that is so egregiously wrong and believing it too.
Yeah. And yeah, like that's the scary part, is that a lot of people who are saying that shit like actually believe it.
Yeah. Like, as a more concrete example, you know, people will be saying things like, oh, well, it is bad actually to help people who are suffering because then they'll never learn. Then they'll
Right.
never learn to take care of themselves. It is bad actually to be good.
Right. And yeah, like I had to pay my student loans, so it would be bad to forgive them for anyone else.
Right. I suffered, therefore they must also suffer for it to be
Right.
fair.
Yeah, we certainly can't have like any societal improvements because that is unfair to people who did not have those improvements.
Right. A bad thing happened once to some people, and now they will feel bad again if that bad thing doesn't continue happening.
Right. Yeah.
Ugh, idiots. But yeah, no, this is cool. I don't know, maybe we have crabs in control of our government too, because it certainly doesn't seem like any intelligent thinking beings, you know, on the level of humans or who care for humanity in the least.
And yeah, it's kind of interesting because, like, you know, at first you're thinking, oh, the pilot and the controller are like in charge of the colony. But then it's like, nope, actually, the pilot is being controlled himself, and the controller either doesn't exist or is also just being controlled by the giant space crabs.
Yeah, like he seems like the only one that's not under like brainwashing control, but you know, he's under the threat of violence.
Right.
So
the threat of violence, which the crabs have basically the monopoly on.
right, with their badass pinchers.
Mhm.
Again, pinnacle evolution people. Well, this is pretty awesome. I like how this is shaping up. I did not realize that it was going to be, you know, brainwashed dystopian style until we got to this episode, and I really enjoy it. It's definitely one of my favorite kind of genres of sci-fi. So
Yeah, definitely.
excellent.
Me too. And yeah, this is a fun reveal, I thought.
Yeah, for sure. I especially like the kind of haphazard, like, you know, the actual control guy's like sort of this old scared dude who wasn't quite ready yet, and like, or it, you know, it kind of seemed like haphazard, and then, oh crap, there's a struggle. Oh crap, we saw some crab parts. Oh no,
Right.
Like, it's got
Yeah,
that
like
sort of cute, funny Doctor Who Deus Ex Machina style. That's awesome.
yeah, I'm imagining, you know, the giant space crabs are like, oh, they want to see control, like just put the picture back up, like that'll be fine, obviously. And then like when they're like, no, really, we want to actually see him, and the crabs are like, oh shit, what do we do now? We got to scramble. I'm like, quick, go grab the old man, get him into a room, grab the camera.
Make sure we're not on camera, but you better believe we're going to be standing just off camera, ready to snip you if you say the wrong thing. Yeah, awesome. Well, I know I always say this, but damn, this is a fun serial. You know, we don't have any like nasty stereotypes, and we do have, you know, some narcs for everyone to hate, which is always good. Sorry, Ben, I understand it's not your fault. The doctor keeps, you know, saying that, but goddamn, I just can't stand a narc.
Yeah, seriously.
But yeah, very cool. That's fun.
Yeah, this has been a good serial so far. I'm quite enjoying it.
Indeed. Any further notes to go over on this episode?
I guess the only other thing I wanted to mention is another thing about like the animation versus the original, which is that apparently in the original version of the episode, it actually ends like as soon as Polly realizes that the giant crabs are in control. I guess like the last line or two of the episode of the pilot condemning them to the pits is originally from the start of episode 3, but I guess for the animation they moved it to the end of episode 2.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good cliff dangler.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was probably the right choice to make.
Right, it's like a 1-2 punch. Like the first thing that hits you is like, oh shit, okay, the crabs are in charge. They are control basically, or they're controlling control. And then boom, also you're condemned.
Right. Yeah, it's like, oh shit, like the pilot is still just fully under their control basically.
Right. Huh, yeah, well, it's definitely interesting, like the small changes, you know, that they make that really kind of have like a bigger effect than you'd expect.
Yeah.
But I guess that's probably why they did the change. It's like, now this is going to make it hit harder.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, you know, if you're basically remaking the episode and like you've got the opportunity to make a relatively small but impactful change like that, you might as well do it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, awesome. Yeah, it's shaping up quite nicely. I can't wait to hear in 2 weeks what scuttles out of the Doctor Who universe.
I heard some science news the other day that I wasn't quite sure if it sat well with me or not. Apparently they're like trying to combine the DNA of crabs with cheetahs. And I'm like, I don't know, that could go sideways pretty fast.
Nice. Good one, indeed. Awesome. Dang, now I'm going to have a very fun time imagining what that would look like. Well, awesome. Thanks, Kyle, for describing that episode of Doctor Who to me.
For sure. And thanks for listening to me describe that episode of Doctor Who.
Of course. And thanks, listeners, for sitting through us with our nerdy crab-related discussions and also nerdy video game-related discussions.
Indeed.
If you feel like talking crab, you know where to find us. Blue Sky, Gmail. Probably even leave a comment on YouTube or something, although I don't know if we'd ever even see that. Maybe we'd get an email or something. I don't know.
I think we might get an email about it, but I'm not sure.
Nice. That's an option then.
Uh-huh. And, you know, if you leave us a rating and review, if it's on Apple Podcasts, I'll probably see it eventually. If it's on another platform, I appreciate it, but I don't really remember to check those.
Yeah, so, you know, if you love screaming into the void, then please scream away.
Yep. Regardless of the platform, every rating and review will help.
Indeed. All right, listeners. Well, we will see you in 2 weeks to see what cracks up in the next episode. That was a stretch. Cracking crab legs. All right, anyway.
Cool.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
The Doctor and his friends are to be given the advantage of high-powered adaptation at once. They must begin to think like members of the colony. They are to have deep sleep and thinking patterns. We cannot have criticism from these strangers. The work is urgent. It must begin immediately.
Emergency order from control. Top priority. Are all the cubicles connected?
The rest cubicles for the 4 strangers are all connected for deep sleep and thought patterns.
Very good. The process is to begin immediately. Your instructions are being carried out.
That is good. This is an emergency. Control must be believed and obeyed. No one on the colony believes in Macra. There is no such thing as Macra. Macra do not exist.